What if I told you that one of the most nutritious plants on earth is growing in gardens, sidewalks, farm fields, and empty lots right now, and most people are ripping it out and throwing it away? What if this plant contains more omega-3 fatty acids than many leafy vegetables, impressive amounts of vitamins and minerals, and a nutritional profile so remarkable that scientists continue studying it today? And yet, despite all of that, it's classified as a weed, not a superfood, not a miracle plant, a weed. The question is, how did one of nature's most powerful edible plants earn such a bad reputation? And why are more people not talking about it? Stay with me because the answer may completely change the way you look at your backyard forever. Before we begin, if you enjoy learning about healing foods, biblical health principles, medicinal plants, and forgotten nutrition secrets, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Goddess Health Code, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future discoveries. We uncover some of the most fascinating health secrets hidden in nature, and today's plant may be one of the most surprising yet. Imagine walking through your garden on a warm summer morning. You notice a low-growing plant spreading across the soil. Most gardeners would immediately reach for the weeds and pull it out. Some might spray it. Others might throw it into the trash without a second thought. But what if that plant was actually more valuable than many of the vegetables growing right beside it? The plant we're talking about is purslane. At first glance, purslane doesn't look impressive. It has small, thick leaves, reddish stems, and a sprawling growth habit. It doesn't produce giant fruits. It doesn't have colorful flowers that attract attention. It doesn't look like something you would find in a high-end health food store. In fact, it looks exactly like what most people assume it is, a weed, but appearances can be incredibly deceptive. For centuries, purslane has quietly existed in fields, gardens, and wild landscapes across the world. Ancient civilizations valued it as both food and medicine. Historical records show that people consumed purslane long before modern nutrition science existed. They may not have known the scientific details, but they understood something important. This plant made people feel good, it provided nourishment, it survived difficult conditions, and it was available almost everywhere. Fast forward to today, and modern researchers have begun taking a closer look at purslane. What they discovered surprised many people. Purslane contains significant amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly alpha-linolenic acid. Omega-3s are often associated with fish like salmon, yet here was a humble plant containing notable amounts of these valuable fats. For a leafy green vegetable, that's remarkable. Now, it's important to understand that salmon and purslane are different foods with different nutrient profiles. But the fact that a common garden weed contains meaningful levels of omega-3s at all is astonishing. Most people never expect a plant growing between sidewalk cracks to offer nutrients that scientists actively study for heart and brain health, and omega-3s are only the beginning. Purslane is also rich in vitamins A, C, and E. It contains minerals such as magnesium, potassium, calcium, and iron. It provides antioxidants that help protect plant cells from environmental stress. When researchers analyze its nutritional profile, they often find far more value than people expect from a plant that many gardeners spend hours trying to eliminate. So if purslane is so nutritious, why is it still classified as a weed? The answer has less to do with nutrition and more to do with perception. A weed is often defined as a plant growing where people don't want it. That's it. The term doesn't necessarily mean the plant is harmful. It doesn't mean it's useless. It simply means it appears in places where humans didn't intentionally plant it. Purslane happens to be extremely good at surviving. It tolerates heat. It handles drought. It grows in poor soil. It spreads efficiently. Those traits help it thrive, but they also cause gardeners to view it as a nuisance. Ironically, many of the characteristics that make purslane valuable are the same characteristics that earned it the label of weed. Think about that for a moment. Modern agriculture often celebrates crops that require constant watering, fertilizer, pest control, and maintenance. Purslane does almost the opposite. It grows with minimal assistance. It survives challenging environments. It keeps producing even when conditions become difficult. In a world increasingly concerned about sustainability, food security, and climate resilience, those traits sound less like a problem and more like an advantage. As awareness grows, more people are beginning to rediscover purslane. Farmers' markets occasionally sell it. Chefs incorporate it into salads and gourmet dishes. Health-conscious gardeners intentionally cultivate it rather than remove it. Yet despite this growing interest, most people still have no idea what they're looking at when they see purslane. Part of the reason is that modern food culture often focuses on a relatively small number of crops. Grocery stores are filled with familiar vegetables, while hundreds of edible plants remain largely ignored. Over time, many traditional foods disappeared from mainstream diets. Purslane became one of them, but history tells a different story. Ancient cultures across Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and the Americas consumed purslane regularly. Traditional healers valued it. Farmers recognized its usefulness. Communities relied on plants that grew naturally around them because food security depended on local resources. Today, we're beginning to see a renewed interest in these forgotten foods, and when people finally taste purslane, they're often surprised. The leaves have a refreshing, slightly lemony flavor with a crisp texture. Some compare it to spinach combined with watercress, others appreciate its mild tanginess. It works well in salads, soups, stir-fries, smoothies, and many traditional dishes. Imagine harvesting a nutritious plant from your backyard, adding it to your meal, and benefiting from nutrients that many people spend money trying to obtain through supplements. That's part of what makes purslane so fascinating. It's not rare, it's not expensive, it's not hidden deep in a remote rainforest, it's growing right under our feet. Yet perhaps the most remarkable lesson purslane teaches us has nothing to do with nutrition. It teaches us about assumptions. How often do we overlook valuable things simply because they don't look impressive? How often do we dismiss something because society labels it as unimportant? Purslane challenges those assumptions. It reminds us that value isn't always obvious. Nature often hides its greatest treasures in the most unexpected places. The more scientists study plants like purslane, the more they realize how much remains to be learned about traditional foods. Many modern health trends involve rediscovering ingredients that ancient cultures already appreciated. In some ways, we're not discovering something new, we're remembering something old. That's a powerful idea. Instead of constantly searching for the next miracle food, perhaps we should spend more time learning about the foods humanity has trusted for generations. Purslane isn't the only example. Many plants labeled as weeds have long histories as edible foods. Dandelion, plantain, lamb's quarters, and other wild plants have nourished people throughout history. Yet modern society often treats them as problems rather than resources. What if we changed that perspective? What if gardens included both cultivated crops and useful wild plants? What if food security meant understanding the edible species already growing around us? What if some of the healthiest foods were also some of the easiest to grow? These questions become increasingly important as more people seek resilient, sustainable food systems, and that's where purslane truly shines. It requires little maintenance, it grows rapidly. It tolerates difficult conditions, and it offers an impressive nutritional profile. Very few plants can claim all of those benefits simultaneously. As we approach the end of today's story, remember that purslane isn't magical. No single food can solve every health challenge. Good health comes from overall lifestyle choices, balanced nutrition, physical activity, proper sleep, and many other factors. But purslane represents something valuable. It represents the possibility that nature still has lessons to teach us. It represents the idea that nutritious foods don't always come in expensive packaging. And it represents the forgotten wisdom of generations who understood the value of local, resilient, nutrient-rich plants. So the next time you see purslane growing in a garden, along a pathway, or in an empty field, take a closer look. You may not be looking at a weed at all. You may be looking at one of the most underrated edible plants on Earth. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Before watching this video, had you ever heard of purslane? Have you ever eaten it? Would you consider growing it intentionally in your garden? Let us know in the comments below because your experiences help others learn. And if you found this video interesting, share it with a friend who loves gardening, natural health, or learning about forgotten foods. You never know who might discover a new favorite plant because of this information. Thank you for spending time with us here on God's Health Code. Remember, some of nature's greatest gifts aren't hidden in exotic locations or expensive products. Sometimes they're growing quietly in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize their value. We'll see you in the next video.